Everybody, so you may order at your favorite coffee house, but have you ever thought of making chai tea at home? Susanna Austin, who is the American Honey Queen, is going to show us how to make homemade chai. I'm really excited about this recipe. Hey there, hi, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
You betcha.
It's great, especially because, you know, I'm from Florida, coming to Wisconsin. It's a little bit cold, so warm drinks are always a plus. And this one's real easy to make, nice to have at home. And you can prepare most of it ahead of time and then just have some in your fridge, you know, last you throughout the week.
Yeah, because it's a little bit of a process to make this, but like you say, once it's in the concentrated formulas in your fridge, you're good to go. You could double and triple this recipe. Chai lattes too, when you go out to get them at a coffee shop, they're like $4 or $5. They're pricey, so
Yeah,
this is a great way
absolutely.
to save some money and do that. And they taste so delicious. Even, you know, my daughter loves chai, so it's you know, and if you haven't tried it, it's just wonderful. Even people who don't like straight up tea, there's a lot of flavor in chai. It's really yummy.
Yeah, and with this recipe too, it's the latte, so you know there's a little caffeine in it, but because we're using tea leaves rather than coffee, it's not going to be as much caffeine as if you get an espresso. So if you're trying to stay away from caffeine, you know, this is a nice alternative. It's still got all the lovely flavors of getting a mocha or something like that, but it's maybe a little better alternative for some people.
True, very true. All right, now, so what are some of the spices that go into a chai latte?
Well, we have some allspice that we've just lightly crushed with a mortar and pestle, and so that way just releasing the fragrance.
So you don't want to really use much of the ground. You want to use kind of more of the whole and chop it up, you know yourself.
Yeah, if you can do that,
Grind it
it's
up.
going to have a much fresher flavor, but if you have ground, that'll work as well.
Okay.
Now we also have some cardamom.
Okay.
That is ground. We
Okay.
have some peppercorns, which is a little bit surprising, but it adds a nice kick to it. We also have some ginger. We have some just lightly crushed cinnamon sticks. And then, of course, we have our tea leaves.
Now, the cinnamon sticks, right away I noticed how wonderful they smelled rather than just using ground cinnamon.
Oh, definitely. It's really a nice smell to it. And so this, you know, when you're cooking it, you start getting a little bit hungry because
Yeah.
all those lovely flavors, all those
Absolutely.
lovely smells.
Okay, so let's show everybody how to do it.
Okay, so first off, we're just going to go ahead and put in 2½ cups of water into our pan, and then we're going to add all of our different spices except for our tea leaves. So what we add in is our allspice, just really coarsely crushed. We add in our cardamom, our peppercorns.
This is like the peppercorn from your grinder, right? Right away I said, really? Pepper in there?
And then we've got some ginger and then the cinnamon. And then we're going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to let it simmer for about 25 minutes. And that's when it comes down and it becomes really concentrated. And then what we'll do is we'll add in our tea leaves. And then it's very important to just let that simmer for 3 minutes. If you leave it, once the tea leaves go in, you got to do it quickly, because if you leave in the tea leaves too long, it starts to get a little bit bitter.
Okay, all right, so spices with the water for about 25 minutes.
Yeah. And
then
we add in the tea leaves.
the tea leaves.
And then it comes off the heat after 3 minutes.
And these are just, what type of tea leaves are
Well,
these?
it depends on your preference. So these are English breakfast tea leaves.
Okay.
So it's just regular black tea leaves, but it's not as strong as if you use like the Irish tea leaves or something like that. So just black tea leaves, and if you have a preference, or even if you want to add in, you know, some other type of tea, you can do that as well.
Okay, but you don't want to use the tea bag. You want to go get some good, fresh, loose tea, some nice loose tea, and you don't need a lot of it either.
No, not at all. That's just 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
So very easy, and it makes as you can see, it makes quite a pot.
It smells so good. So here it is after we've added the tea leaves, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So here, this is, and what we've done also is we've strained it out. So once you add in the tea leaves, you let it simmer for 3 minutes, you take it, and then we want a fine strainer to make sure we get out all those big chunks. And so we have a very smooth latte. So you'll just pour it through the strainer. And then what we do next is we have 2 cups of warm milk. So we add this in and just mix it up really nicely, and then we're ready to serve it.
It is the most gorgeous color. So pretty. Now, where does the honey come in? I'm assuming we're going to need to sweeten this chai latte a little bit.
That's right. So we're going to go ahead, and we've got the 2 tablespoons honey, so you can add it in the cup if everybody likes a different sweetness.
And that's a great little tip. When you're measuring honey, make sure and spray, you're measuring, you know, if it's a spoon or it's a cup with a little bit of spray, cooking spray.
Yeah, we don't want to lose any of that honey in our measuring device.
Because it's sticky, so this way it'll come right out.
Yeah, so here I can just sweeten the whole pot, but if you like, you can serve it up, and if it's warm, just let people sweeten it themselves with the honey, so, you know, everybody can have their own preference there.
And there's so many different kinds of honeys. We've talked about that before. What would be your preference to sweeten up this chai?
Well, with this recipe, I like something kind of light, like this clover basswood. You could also use a pure basswood, which is very light. It's going to get a nice subtle flavor, not going to overpower the cinnamon and the other fragrances. Or you can use something like orange blossom if you're a person who likes a little bit of citrus in there. But you want to stay with, like a gold to a light, almost clear honey, rather than going with something very dark like our buckwheat honey that we have here that you can see is almost black. It's got a very strong flavor.
So that would be better for like sauces, barbecue sauce, and things like that. Now, if we wanted to make this ahead of time, would you just not add the milk until you're ready to serve it? Is that
That's
how that
right,
works?
yeah.
Okay, so basically you'd do the strained liquid, keep that in a container, maybe double, triple the recipe so you've got a big batch of it. How long would that last in your fridge?
It should last, probably about a week where it'll still have the fresh fragrances because it's just the water and the spices. It's not going to spoil necessarily, but it won't be as fresh if you keep it longer than a week.
Okay, all right. Well, what a great idea to do this. And let me tell you, there's nothing like sipping a little chai by reading a good book by the fireplace. And now you can make it at home. You've got the recipe. Not all that hard to do. Susanna, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for sharing your recipes.
Thank you so much for having me.
And there you go. Use some great Wisconsin honey, and lots more than just putting honey in your tea and on your toast. You can make chai with it. You can do all sorts of great things with it. So thanks again.
Thank you.
You bet. We'll be right back. Stay with us.